Where are we now? This week, political agendas prevailed. The pressure from President Trump and Governor DeSantis proved to be a far greater force on our school board than our pleas for public health and safety. Nevertheless, we must now pivot once again to make reopening as safe as possible and a success for our students. As your union and your advocate, our first and foremost is you, your health and your well-being. Knowing what we know about the lack of preparedness in our schools, and in lieu of the safety resources and equipment, we are working diligently around the clock to ensure that each and every one of our teachers and education support professionals will have access to the resources and materials they will need to ensure their safety in their personal space and that of their students. For the time being, here are some things you can do. We are recommending all district staff immediately get tested for COVID-19. Get a test, because if you are carrying the virus, you should not be in schools. And if you are actually sick, you should be getting treatment. We want to have a baseline in order to avoid community spread. Please visit a testing site and ask for a molecular test, which is the type of test that will give you the most accurate results. As a union, we have launched #SafeSchoolsSFL to publicize existing dangers where we see them. We will advocate at the district, region, and school level to educate about safety, advocate for appropriate resources, and agitate if demands are not being met. Please use the #SafeSchoolsSFL or see the reporting forms on the Reopen Schools Safely at www.utd.org to submit photos anonymously for our review. As often happens, we will continue to play the role of critical truth tellers, making the district and parents aware of what can be done to address shortcomings in health and safety plans, protocols, and execution. As bargaining unit members, union members, stewards, and officers of the union, we're all in this together. We are training stewards, visiting sites as union leaders, and providing education so members know what to look for to be in compliance with key factors as outlined in our Letter of Understanding. Just like your collective bargaining agreement, your contract defines your rights and responsibilities in general. The LOU we reached is an official roadmap for short-term success for our members, and we believe it is the best possible agreement we could reach. It will only be effective when we understand it, apply it, and stand up for its provisions so we benefit from the respect of those provisions. This LOU codifies our commitment to health and safety in the time of COVID-19. Let's have a frank discussion about power. When we act in a concerted manner, we have tremendous power. Our community trusts teachers more than politicians. They trust us with their children. They trust us in the school, and they trust us online to have the best interests of their children at heart. Because they know you. They know your commitment to their children. We need you and our parents to be vigilant as we identify necessary elements to keep us safe and healthy when we are back in person. Empower your parents to also advocate on behalf of our health and safety concerns. If they see something wrong, they should say something. As educators, we know that novel means it is new and unknown at this point. The science is still developing, but studies certainly point to children's role as spreaders. Some science has suggested super spreaders of COVID-19, even if they appear to be unaffected or asymptomatic by the disease. This is simple. But the same U.S. president and Florida governor conflate the issue by making statements that suggest students are not impacted by the disease. This is simply not true. And we do not know the long-term impacts on children who carry the virus. That is why we must be good role models on how to properly wear masks and help them understand that they must clean up after themselves in order to stop the spread of the virus and share responsibilities of keeping each other safe. We will end off where we started because the beautiful simplicity of the expression, stay home, save lives, is as true now as it was in March. That is why you should encourage parents that have the option of keeping their children at home to keep them in their protective bubbles. The less amount of people in our school sites equals the less amount of people that can be vectors of transmission. For now, we will continue to have more questions and answers, but we will continue to advocate and engage with you and the community with an emphasis on health and safety. So here's what we're going to do now. We will be having a community-wide COVID supply drive where we will be asking our community to donate necessary PPE and sanitation materials, which will be made available to our UTD members. Our top priority will continue to be your health and safety, and we know that these resources will create a safer environment for you and your students. We will keep you posted on dates and times and pickup locations. Last but certainly not least, we cannot underestimate the power of your vote. This pandemic has highlighted the systemic inequities that continue to persist. We hope that you will be a voter that supports public education.
What have we achieved already in our current Letter of Understanding, our LOU? Thanks to advocacy from members and detailed, in-depth discussions to protect community health and safety while giving instructional personnel as much flexibility as possible, a responsible agreement has been reached with the district. As members of the largest unionized workforce in the country, we have been outspoken and will continue to be in our call for safety first. For now, the agreement grants instructional staff the ability to use familiar tools for communications and instructional purposes. Additionally, members will have the ability to use virtual backgrounds when working from home to protect their privacy and keep students focused on their lessons. We are training stewards, visiting sites as union leaders, and providing education so members know what to look for to be in compliance with the 5 key factors to reopen schools safely for face-to-face instruction. Number 1, physical distancing, preferably 6 feet between students. We know how to count and divide the number of students by the square feet in the classroom. There is flexibility to take that distance down to a meter, 3 feet 3 inches. But then additional measures should be taken to safeguard students and staff in closer quarters. Number 2, facial coverings must be worn and must be enforced with administration's support. Educating our students is important so they understand that wearing a mask shows respect for one another. Number 3, hand washing. Facilities, resources, and planning for rigorous hand washing during the day. That means our students need access to soap, clean running water, and paper towels. If hand washing is not possible, then hand sanitizer must have a minimum of 60% alcohol to be effective against the spread of the coronavirus. Number 4, resources and staffing for thorough cleaning of facilities, including regularly during the day, between classes, and before and after school. The district needs to have adequate custodians to clean and sanitize schools appropriately. Your school should have enough custodians for regular cleaning, and your students should wipe their area down to maintain cleanliness. Last but not least, we are doing inspections of ventilation in our buildings. All the safety measures won't work if everyone in the building is breathing the same recirculated air all day. The district stated that they changed many of the AC filters to MERV 13s, but that there are still AC units that could not withstand a MERV 13 filter. The MERV filter range is 1 to 16, 16 being the best. If you have windows, we encourage you to open them up for circulation. Let's be clear. All 5 of these measures must be followed in every building all the time if we are going to keep our community from further harm. We need our members to work with us like we have never worked before, because we are literally working to save lives. See the checklist for detailed questions on each of these 5 topics at www.utd.org in the Reopen Schools Safety page.
What is the role of politics in our district? There is a significant political pressure to return to face-to-face instruction from the president, the governor, and the commissioner of education. Voting has started in the presidential election, and we should be clear that many of the elements we will discuss here have political implications. Let's not mince words. The union is a political organization. If you do not have a seat at the table, then you usually end up on the menu. We leverage the moral power of our members and, by extension, our bargaining unit to advocate for policies that favor public education for students here in Miami-Dade County. As responsible educators, we know that children who are hungry, sick, unsafe, stressed out, homeless, afraid, and grieving simply cannot learn. We make our decisions about supporting candidates not on party labels or backroom deals, but through screenings with volunteer member educators who invested the time to ultimately make tough decisions about which candidates are going to do the best they can for public education and society as a whole. When we make these decisions, we do what we can to do what we do, which is to educate, to share policy ideas that are based on research and experience and make recommendations. Then we work to turn out the vote and build power for working families. We need you to support these efforts and not allow the politics of fear to create discord and disharmony within our union. Regardless of the outcome of the presidential election, school board races, state senate and representative elections, we will work with whichever candidates are selected because our work is based on our values, which do not bend, by the way, but allow us to work with any responsible decision maker who will act in good faith for all of our students. Finally, our strength, and thus our power, is always in our membership. Because our profession has become so political, it is even more imperative that your colleagues that have yet to understand the value of belonging become part of this movement. All of us in this profession can contribute something, and at the very least, to the membership. This is actually the time to have those tough conversations, as it is apparent that every aspect of what we do as education professionals is affected by politics. It is up to us to protect ourselves, because as we have just witnessed, our state, our education commissioner, and our school board are not willing to protect us. If you are not a member, we need you to join now, electronically, by going to utd.org and clicking on the Join Now link. Thank you.